two people who could not make it to this meeting today. And we will unmute you guys so that we don't have background noise, but you can ask any questions you want in the second half of this webinar, because this webinar is also designed for you guys, that you can ask any questions that you might have. And yeah, let's kick it off. So as a short intro, last session we looked at the reports, which means that how can we take your data in your Salesforce and create powerful reports on that. That was the first step. And the message was that you can get a lot out of your data in Salesforce if you structure them and analyze them. Okay. And so these two sessions, the first on report and the second one on dashboards, are really to encourage you to use Salesforce to the most. Okay. And you might wonder, like, if you have reports, and reports are great and all, but what if you need a quick insight into your data and do not have time to go through all the data in the reports? So if you don't have the time, or what if you have so much in your system, but you only want to show certain elements on one page? And this is where the dashboards come in very handy. Definition, as I put it here, is a visual display of key metrics and trends. And dashboard is also a visual representation of several reports on one page, as you can see here on this sample screenshot on the screen. Okay. And in general terms, a dashboard is more like a instrument panel in your car. Okay, so there's a lot of data in your car. The car could show you, in the cockpit, the cockpit could show you a lot of data. But if you go 120 on the highway, you just want to see the high-level information, the very basic information that you need in this specific time, right? So basically, a instrument panel in your car is like a dashboard in Salesforce. And we labeled this session as a session for beginners. If you are intermediate, it's also fine. But this session just show you the steps to create a powerful dashboards. And if you already have some experience with dashboards, it's also cool, because then you can baseline your experience and your approach with the standard Salesforce approach, which I will show you today. And just as important, there's a Q&A session in the second half of the session. Write down your questions you might have, ask them now. I will try to answer them now. If not, I will get back to you after the session, but this is also a good point to start a conversation here. And yeah, one sentence about myself. My name is Patrick. I work with Nexell since 1.5 years now. I have 6+ years in project management experience in IT-enabled projects. I started with SAP, and then also worked with Salesforce as a user, and now as a Salesforce consultant. So I know both perspectives, the user perspective and the project manager consultant perspective. Yeah, working on my fifth certification right now. So yeah, that's just a bit about me. And of course, on LinkedIn, you can reach out to me anytime in case you have any questions or comments. So this is what we will go through today, okay? Basically, there's 3 major parts: the steps to create a dashboard, which could be new for you, or in case you use it, you can baseline your approach towards that. Then I show you how it works in real life with a hands-on challenge. And the third one is then the Q&A. So, and this altogether should, like, the first 2 parts should take maybe 25-30 minutes. Okay. All right. Let me turn off the camera for better bandwidth, so that you all have the great reception. So the steps to create a dashboard, okay? You see here the dashboard is the final step of a sequence. So it all starts with the records in your data. out of which you build a report, out of which you build a dashboard. Okay, so this slide should just tell you that the dashboard is the final step of an exercise, and it really depends on whether your data is clean and that your reports on which the dashboards are based are well set up. If you have the data clean and the reports structured, then you're already, let's say, halfway done. Okay, and the report, as I said, is always the basis of a dashboard. So basically, you create the reports first, which then are supposed to be included in the dashboards. You do not start with the dashboard and derive the reports based on that, but you add the reports as dashboard components to the dashboards. And one thing that I see oftentimes with clients is that they want to add any report to a dashboard, and then they realize that for some it's not possible. An error message pops up in the dashboard editor, and the reason in most cases is that the report to be included is not summary report. As you know from last session, reports in Salesforce can take several types, and the first type is usually a tabular report, which is basically like an Excel file. It's just a tabular report. You should not add that to a dashboard. The second step is the summary report. If you group the data at least in one category, then you have the summary report, and you can add it to a dashboard. And the next one is the metrics report. If you group it by 2 dimensions, then you have a metrics report, and this can also be added to a dashboard. And you do that very straightforwardly. You go to the report, you take the fields that you have and add them as a column, as you see on the right screenshot, for example, and voila, you can add this then to the dashboard. Okay. So how does that look from a procedural perspective? It's very straightforward. You might have seen the dashboard tab in your Salesforce org in the navigation menu. If you don't have it, then feel free to approach the admin. He or she can add it for you. New dashboard is the field you select. Then you type in the name, and very importantly, you select a folder. I really recommend here creating the folders beforehand, and also give a very logical structure to your folders so you can find it easily, and also that you can grant the access right to the dashboards accordingly. We will come to that later. So then a pop-up appears, you add the components, and as I said, every report is one component. The relationship between a dashboard component, so to say, and the reports is one-on-one. So for each dashboard component, which is the big screenshot below here, so for each dashboard component, there is one single underlying report. And multiple dashboard components can be shown together on one single dashboard page layout. And that then creates powerful visual displays, and also a way for you to consume multiple reports that often have a common theme. You know, for example, the number of open leads, leads not follow up in the last 30 days. You can then create a lead dashboard, for example, or a sales dashboard, and only add the reports which share a common theme. And the last step on the very left side, then you define which layout the report as the dashboard component will take. And this is what we will look at now. You can select basically from a range of 11 chart types for the dashboard. And I really encourage you to first make sure which message you want to convey, and then select the type. And you can, and this sounds like an easy step, but I think this is one of the steps in the dashboard creation where it can make a huge difference. Not only because graphics are nice and your team, yourself, or your supervisor will love graphics, but also because dependent on the graph you chose, depending on the chart type you choose, you can display a totally different information. So make sure what you want to show, right? Absolute value, you want to show the proportion, you want to see a decrease or an increase of a certain value. Do you want to show several values and their decrease, or you want to show a single value and the increase or decrease? You want to show a relationship between data, or do you want to see the distribution or the progress? Okay, and what I did, I divided these formats that you have into certain buckets. So for example, for proportional, you take the bar charts, but also the donut charts. But one thing that I really like is, for example, on the very right side, the progress chart type, because this gauge really looks like a instrument panel in your car, and it can really show the progress of one variable towards the goal. Okay, for example, leads followed up this month, for example. Okay, that is about the chart type. So it looks simple, but you can make a huge difference if you choose one chart type or the other. Now it's going to be a bit theoretical, but we need to talk about the access to the dashboard data. Okay, so the access to the data that is so the access to the data in the dashboard is granted via the dashboard settings, and basically you can use two levels here. You can specify a certain user, which is the basis of the access to the dashboard data, or the logged in user, which we also call the dynamic dashboard. So each dashboard, that's what you have to know here, each dashboard has a running user whose security settings determine which data to display in a dashboard. Because as you know, also from last session, is that in Salesforce, you can define that every user should only see the data he or she needs to see, right? And dashboard takes that logic and only displays the information that the running user, the one who opens the dashboard, should see. And you've got two options here. The first one is the specified user. So the dashboard runs using the security setting of that single specific user. Okay. All users with access to the dashboard see the same data regardless of their own personal security settings. And you choose this approach if you want to share the big picture across a hierarchy, or if you want to motivate team members by showing peer performance within a team. Okay, so for example, you want to show to all people in your organization the same data, then you choose one colleague who has very clean data and has the right access level, and let anyone who opens the dashboard see the data as if they were this person. And to define the specific user, you need to have certain permissions on your profile, okay? So with view all permission, you can choose any user, and if you don't have view all data, and if you don't have view all data, you can only choose yourself, okay? So that means that you need to have certain permissions on your profile to be able to select the running user, which anyone who opens the dashboard should use as a baseline, okay? Meaning that if, for example, if you want to choose one team member and take this team member as the running user so that everyone sees the data in the dashboard according to her user record access, you would need, for example, the view my team's dashboard permissions. And if you need them, you can, and you don't have them, you can ask your admin. What's even more important is the run as logged in user. This is also known as the dynamic dashboard. This is a concept which I really, really like, because with a dynamic dashboard, you can control data visibility without having to create a separate dashboard with its own running user and folder for each level of data access. And that means that if you, for example, have 20 team members with 4 different accesses to records in your organization, you would need, for example, 4 different Excel files with 4 different graphics, and this takes some time to set up, right? And in Salesforce, you just create one dashboard, you select dynamic user, and everyone just sees the data that she or he should see. And you can have up to 5 dynamic dashboards in enterprise, and even 10 in unlimited. Okay. Next slide. This shows how it's being set up in the org. So let's get a bit more practical. So you basically click on the dashboard, you click on Edit, you click on Settings, and then you see on the right screenshot, you see View the Dashboard As. And the first 2 are basically the specified user. So you can define everyone should see should take my access to the records and should see the dashboard as I see it. Or I choose Andy James, for example. I'll take any colleague. Okay. And if you choose the third option here, which is the dashboard viewer, then this is how you create a dynamic dashboard. And I can really, really encourage you to do that, because you save tons of time by creating only one dashboard for all and opening up the dashboard access to anyone, and everyone just sees the data they should. So this is really, really, really handy. We move to the next slide. So now you have created a dashboard, and what you can do is you can create a dashboard for yourself, or you can create a dashboard and add it to a homepage so that everyone who opens Salesforce sees the dashboard, which is really interesting, for example, for sales departments, so that the sales reps see a dashboard in the morning when they open the homepage. And as I said before, the access to dashboards is defined by the access of the folder they are stored in. And what you basically do is you define whom you want to share it with, if you store it in a folder, and the second, what they should be able to perform with that dashboard. Okay, those are the 2 steps. Very basic, but very important, because you want to make sure you make this right. And not grant anyone access that they should not have. On the other hand, you want to share this dashboard with as many people at the same time. And this here, what you see on the screenshots, is the way how to do that. You select to share it with, for example, a territory, and then you enter the territories. You can also share it with roles or with individual users. And in the second step, then you define the access. This is similar to the access we discussed in reports. In our last session, view, as the name says, is just that you can view the data but not do anything else. Edit is also changed in the dashboard a little bit. And manage means that you can also, if you have this permission granted, that you can also then change whom this dashboard is changed with. This, for example, is useful if a colleague jumps in for you. If you go on vacation, then you give him or her the manage rights, and then she can take over from there and define also who can see the dashboard in the future. Okay, this is pretty straightforward. It's basic steps, but it's things that you really should consider using when you create dashboards. And one thing which is overlooked pretty oftentimes is the subscription to dashboards and also the scheduling of dashboards. Okay, so if you use Classic, then basically you can schedule dashboards. In Lightning, it's called subscribe to. And this is really handy, and would really recommend doing that, because you can save a lot of time informing your teammates about certain key metric updates. So, for example, suppose that every Monday morning you arrive at your desk and you run your case overview dashboard to, for example, determine the case priority, okay? And instead of manually refreshing the dashboard, you can subscribe to it and have it emailed to you and anyone else you specify. For example, at Monday at 12 p.m., as we see in the screenshot here, okay? So to do that, you open the dashboard, you then click on subscribe, or you find the dashboard you want to subscribe to and select the subscribe row level action. And in the edit subscription window, you set the subscription schedule. For example, as I said, you want to review a dashboard at the start of every business week, then you can set up accordingly here. Weekly, Monday, time 12 p.m., send to me, or you select other people, okay? And that's really, really handy, and I can really recommend using that. Okay. One thing that people usually overlook is that you can basically include links into dashboards, okay? So links in dashboards, and I don't know whether you know this concept, but this answers the questions of how to get from the dashboard directly to the underlying data. For example, in case that you want to immediately dig deeper into the data. So how do you make life easy for the users by having them go directly from the dashboard to the data and not having to look up the data by hand, okay? How you do that? Basically, you add a new dashboard component, and then you click on the pencil icon, on the edit pencil icon on the component, and from the add component or edit component menu, you enter destination, and you hit the save. This is one thing that I rarely see with clients, but I really think it should be used, because you enter one link and you save tons of time saving the searching for data in your system. Yeah. And also one thing which is really, really handy is the dashboard filter. So the dashboard filter, like as we have heard, every user just sees the data that she has access to, okay? And with filters, you determine which data to which the user has access to should be shown in the dashboard, okay? The filter applies to all components of the dashboard, and an example would be you sell your product to 3 different countries, okay? You create the same dashboard for each country. So, well, you create it once and then you clone it twice. And then you set the filter in each dashboard that you created to the respective country, okay? And that is something which is really, really handy, because again, this saves you tons of time. And it will appear on the top left, as you can see in the screenshot, in the bottom screenshot here. Every filter you add becomes one drop-down pick list value on the left side of the dashboard panel. And one thing that I want to share with you here is dashboards that you really should have. So I did some investigation and I talked to my colleagues, and also thought about where I helped clients a lot with dashboards, and I put down the dashboards that you really should have. This is some kind of best practice. I've given best practice in the last session on reports, and I want to do the same thing here. These are the pipelines that if you work with anything related to sales, you really should have. And for example, you must know as a team lead in the business development department and as a sales rep in the business development department, how the pipeline is looking like. And then you can create this dashboard, for example. One thing that is really important for the account executive, for example, is the activity management dashboard. This shows you exactly where the sales reps work on and where they can be more efficient, and then you can guide them accordingly. This is very useful, especially for supervisors in the sales departments. Most likely you have it already, but I just wanted to mention it. It's a forecast dashboard. If you are the supervisor, you want to know what's the forecast. If you are working for a supervisor, then he or she at some point in the month or the week wants to know what's the forecast like. And there you can make a huge impression if you have a really nice dashboard where it shows all the data in a really nice graphical way. And It also shows that the data is in your Salesforce, and make the most out of it, make use of it, and turn your data into really, really nice graphics. Last but not least, yeah, it's called Clean Your Room. Are my reps making the most out of our sales tools, would be the question you asked yourself. And this dashboard really checks for dirty data. It's really amazing. You can Google it. You can also download it on the App Exchange. And there's, in addition to these that you see here as an example, there's tons of dashboards for free in the App Exchange, which you do not have to customize. You just need to download them. I would really suggest that you take advantage of that. Okay. What we will look now is into how does a dashboard creation work in real life, and I, for you, created a challenge. So I will do it, but I come up with this scenario, which basically is a real life example, meaning your head of sales asks you to find a way for her to always be up to date about this key sales metrics. Okay. And then she also wants you to spend as little time as possible on the data gathering and data editing, so you don't spend the whole week in Excel and formatting, but she wants to have it really quick, as soon as possible, and also, of course, it should be correct. And precisely, she wants to be up to date on the following information. For example, every sales rep's margin. What does the margin look like? What does the pipeline by stage look like? What are our key opportunities? And what are the opportunity values per territory that we sell in? So this is a very common use case. This is a real life example. And what we're going to do now is we will go into the org. What you see here is our demo org with all the data in it, and we will create a dashboard now. You have the dashboard tab. You open the dashboard tab here, and you click on New Dashboard. And you can use that also as a baseline, as I said, to see how you do it, and you can then see whether maybe I show you some shortcuts that you hadn't known as of now. So it's called a sales report. If you go to the description and says sales report weekly status meeting, for example. Okay. Then you select a folder. This is very important, as I said, because with the folders, you define who has access to the data. I, for myself, now put it into, let's say, the private dashboard. That's completely fine for the case here. And we then have the sales report here. And what we do now is, as the next step, we add the individual components. And if we go back to the use case, the first one was the margin by sales rep report. And you have already prepared that report. You have saved it under sales executive reports, and you now include that as a component into your dashboard. Okay. Now you see here that the message changes a lot dependent on which chart you choose. Okay. For example, what do you want? What is the message? The margin by sales rep. Okay, but I want to compare them. Okay, this is a great way to do so. But what about if you, for example, had that donut chart? Okay, then we also want to make sure that we have the values correctly. We have either record counts, but this doesn't make sense because we want to see the margin. So we go for amount or average margin. And let's say the margin is okay, opportunity owner is fine. We want to show the percentages as well, which are already there. And now I include a custom link, which is the link to the source report and to the opportunity list. So basically, that if I want to dig deeper, I can just select it. And that's about it. This is the first component that I want to add to my dashboard. Then you look, okay, what was the second that was requested? It was the opportunities, the key opportunities. All right, no problem. I know I have created this report. If not, I do so. In this case, for example, I have it, and I add it. And here, how can I see the key channel opportunities? Well, this is already grouped as this report. So why don't I use the stacked bar chart, where I can see the x-axis, the stage, the y-axis the stage, and the x-axis sum of amount. And I add this chart as well. And the data just needs to load. In the meantime, I can already ask, okay, what was the next one? The third one was the channel pipeline by stage. So I want to know what is the pipeline by stage. And I got two here in my repository. I choose the first one. And if I have the channel pipeline, it would really make sense if I could use the funnel, because funnel is a good way to see the pipeline, per status. And I make sure that I have the sum of amounts, so I know how much money is in each stage and which do I need to put over the line. So I can also basically sort them here, and I can then add this stage to the this dashboard component. And last but not least, we want to see the opportunities and per territory. So this is the final component that we will add. I created this report as well, let's say, and here I have different graphic interpretations. How would you show that? I would say, why don't we use a scatter plot? Because if it's if it has the x-axis, the record count, and on the y-axis the sum of the open opportunity value, then it shows the territories that we really need to focus at. Okay. All right. Right. All right. Then I go to properties, and in the final step, I want to make sure that everyone just sees the data that they should. Now everyone who opens the dashboard would see the data with the X I have. I don't want that, because I'm the admin right now. So if everyone sees at me, they have access to all the data. So I just selected the dynamic viewer, and I save it. I save it here, and I click on done. And that would then, these are the steps how to create a dashboard, okay? And so, and now you can take this dashboard and share it with the team. You can use it for yourself, or for example, if you go to homepage, you can take this this dashboard and include it in here, for example. And yeah, that was the theory and the praxis about the dashboard creation. And I would now like to give you the chance to ask any questions that you might have. Either in a you write it here in the as a comment on the right side of Google Meets, or you open your mic. Any brave one who wants to ask the first question? While you're thinking, the messages that I wanted to convey in this presentation is that first, you have a lot of data in Salesforce already, and I really want to encourage you to make the most out of this with reports and with dashboards. Okay, and secondly, you can save a lot of time using reports and dashboards in Salesforce, okay? Because reporting is very easy, and then this graphical interpretation with dashboards is really, really easy. So, and very informative. It's a very informative way of updating the team. And last but not least, it's a lot of fun, I think, because you can really have the edge over the competition if you have all the data at one glance. And yeah, that's a lot of fun. All right, so if there is no question so far, if you're happy with it, then we will close this session. And you can reach me anytime by email, patrick.ernst@nexell.net, or on LinkedIn. Just don't hesitate to reach out, okay? Cool, guys. So I wish you a great afternoon, and stay healthy, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Nice session.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye.